How are you, sweetheart? What are you doing? Come on, you can do better than that. Katie got you guys warmed up. How are you doing? This is the best spot of the day right after lunch, after you've carbo loaded and are ready for a nap. So my job over the next 30 minutes, now 29, is to try and dare you. I'm not supposed to get outside the light. I'm supposed to go towards the light. What an honor it is to be here and speak to you today. A little less hair than the last time I was with Tina. I gave it away to a good cause. 3 years ago, I saw Tina somewhere, and she said, "Would you do me the honor of speaking at my district conference?" And I said, "Well, sure, when is it?" And she said, "May." And I'm like, "Oh, May. Like this May?" And she goes, "No, May 2018. That was 3 years ago. And I said to her, "If I'm still alive, I would be honored to speak at your district conference." And it really is an honor. Tina's an amazing woman, an incredible inspiration to me. Her passion for Rotary, her passion for youth, and she has the best job, or had the best job in the world, working for the Nature Conservancy, which was like my dream job coming out of college. As I originally went to be a park ranger, and I almost had a job working for the Nature Conservancy, so I always lived vicariously through Tina. My job today is to challenge you to think about yourself and Rotary maybe just a smidge different than the average bear. I spend a great deal of time professionally. I spend a great deal of time with young people talking about leadership. And in the last 35 years or so of traveling around dealing with leaders of various organizations, from small privately held to billion-dollar Fortune 100, 500 companies, and everything in between, there's one common denominator that fascinates me and alarms me, to be honest with you. And that is people's lack of a true appreciation of the difference they make in the world. You know, we're so caught up, especially now, in technology. How many of you have one of these? I heard you have to turn it off so it doesn't cost you $100. They're good for that, so be careful. Make sure it's turned off. You know, we never slow down to really think about the difference that we make in the world. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to be a little heresy here this morning, which is, I would argue that you don't make a difference in the world because of Rotary International. Rotary International makes a difference in this world because of each of you, because of who you are, the gifts that you have, and what you bring to the table. So in the next now 27 minutes, I'm going to do my best to try and help you to appreciate and maybe think about yourself a little bit differently. And I'm going to use a couple of tools to try and help us get there a little faster. And so I'd love to show you a video if I could.
We end this Valentine's Day with a lesson in love. Some high school kids learned it from a teacher they thought knew nothing about it. Here's Steve Hartman on the road.
At St. Francis High School in La Cañada, California, there's something to be said about math teacher Jim O'Connor.
Substitute back for y.
The question is, what is that something?
Truncate or round it.
When you think of him, does the word love come to mind?
Obviously not.
He's very,
For whatever reason, none of these kids would tell me what they really think of him.
Oh, what's the word?
Yeah, none of the boys have come in here and said, "Oh God, we have hated him," you know, at times. Nobody said that. I wonder why.
He's going to be seeing this, right?
Oh, yeah, oh, that's why.
Truth is, Mr. O'Connor can be a bit of a drudge.
You don't know what you're doing.
But the 70-year-old Vietnam vet says he's not here to entertain his students.
It drives me crazy when people say school should be fun. I mean, it's nice if it could be, but you can't make school fun. E to the KT times E to the C.
And for years,
Okay?
the kids thought that's all there was to him. Until last November, when senior Pat McGoldrick learned they didn't know the half of him.
Pat was in charge of a student blood drive and had just come here to Children's Hospital Los Angeles for a meeting. He says it was weird. Whenever he told someone he went to St. Francis High School, they all said, "Oh, you must know Jim O'Connor. Isn't he wonderful?" Wonderful?
What? Like, it was disbelief, really. It's almost like kind of finding this alter ego that he has.
Inside the Blood Donor Center, Pat found a plaque listing all the top blood donors at the hospital, including the record holder, Jim O'Connor. Then he learned something even more unbelievable, that whenever Mr. O'Connor isn't torturing kids with calculus, he's on a whole nother tangent, cuddling sick babies.
Come on, you can talk to me.
3 days a week for the past 20 years, Jim has volunteered here, stepping in when parents can't to hold, feed, and comfort their children.
Solo.
Nurse Erin Schmidt says he's invaluable.
They tend to calm for him. They tend to relax with him. They fall asleep with him.
I just like them and relate to them somehow. Is that a smile?
Jim's never been married. He has no kids of his own,
Yeah.
but he has fallen hard for these babies.
I don't want to see them alone. You can't do that.
You're not a tough guy at all.
I know, but don't tell my students. If you do the calculation.
Sometimes you think you know someone, but you don't have the slightest.
It's positive.
Sometimes you think you're learning calculus, but the real lesson is life.
I've always respected him, but now it's an even a different degree. Really, is to the point where I try to emulate him. He's the epitome of a man of service.
What you doing?
Steve Hartman, on the road in Los Angeles.
Jim O'Connor, synonymous with love.
So think about that. Why would I show you that video to start out and use some of the precious time I have with you to try and, in 30 minutes, try to convince you of something that I've spent 35 years trying to help people to appreciate in businesses, youth groups, RILA, Cub Scouts? Why would I show you this video? Where has he made a difference, do you think? To whom? You can shout it out. This is your chance to be alive and wake up after lunch. Shout it out. Where has he made a difference, do you think? With the students, right? With the babies, with parents. You know, my eldest son had the opportunity to go through the RILA program. I was grateful for that after giving a lot of time to it and disappearing in the Northwoods. And when he first arrived, they kept him for 2 weeks. We had our first child, my wife and I, we were so excited, and they kept him, and we went home. And so, wow, this man gives up his time to go and hug children to make sure that no baby is alone and unloved, and helps out the nursing staff. How about the inspiration he is to that young man in terms of the epitome of service? So I don't care if you are 5 years old or you are 92 years old. You make a difference. You make a difference every day. When I was president of our Rotary Club, a job that I really never signed up for, I was kind of cajoled into it because I made the mistake of raising my hand and saying, if you need help with that, and I really wasn't paying attention, which is kind of a pattern. I was looking for people I needed to talk to in the room, but if you need help with that, you let me know. And as those of you that have been club presidents know, it's just an hour meeting, right? That's all that there is to running the meeting. You don't need to come early or stay late. Truthfully, my favorite time of our Rotary meetings on Monday afternoons were just before and just after. Just before, because some of our club members, there's a gentleman who unfortunately is no longer with us, Gordon Russell, who was one of my favorites. Gordon was 86 years old, I believe, at the time, and we sat one day after a Rotary meeting, and there was a presentation of some young people talking about what they're doing to make a difference in the world. There was people talking about different programs, and when it was done, Gordon kind of hung out a little after, and I went over and sat down at the table with him and said, "What's going on, Gordon?" And he said, what can I give? You know, I'm too old to get around, you know. Gordon didn't move around so well anymore. He wasn't quite as spry. And he said, "I suppose I can continue to write a check. What do I have to give?" I don't think I could have been more horrified to hear something like that if I was 3 people. What do you have to give? 86 years of wisdom, 86 years of experience. He's probably one of the most enthusiastic people that I know. And then he shared something else that was interesting to me, because I think sometimes we think of our meetings as the event, and we think about fellowship, but I wonder if we really appreciate what that fellowship really means. Gordon said to me, "This is my favorite day of the week." Well, second to my Lord, Sunday is my favorite day of the week, so this is my second favorite day of the week. And I said, "Well, that's good. It sounds like you have them in the right order. Good for you. Why is this your favorite day of the week?" Because I really look forward to seeing all these people. I look forward to the young energy of the people that I'm going to be interacting with, or the presentations. And truthfully, I can go a whole week, since my wife passed, I can go almost a whole week with talking to nobody. And so this is my chance to talk to people. It's a chance to check in with my family. You know, I was a Rotarian for a long time. and traveled a lot, and at one point became the Dreaded Rhino. How many of you know what that is? Yeah, you know, I didn't know what that was, but I was told that I suffered from that affliction. And I asked one day, what is that? And it was Rotary in name only, because I traveled a lot for business. And so I'm not one to do things halfway, and so I respectfully bowed out of Rotary. And I haven't been a Rotarian in the literal sense since probably 2014, 15, somewhere in there, right about when Tina asked me. Because part of the agreement was, wouldn't it be great, a great story about how you were so active in Rotary and then you left and you came back? And I said, well, Tina, I don't know if I can do that, so I can't guarantee you. So we're still thinking about it. And who knows? I got goosebumps, so maybe something will happen. So I have a question for you. If you go, I want you to look at the screen. How many of you are familiar with this planet? That was supposed to be funny. Thanks for the hands. This was a very difficult selfie for me a couple of days ago. I sprained a hamstring trying to take this picture. So I have a question for you. How many of you know what the current world population is? Shout it out. 7 billion? 7.2? Do I hear 7.4? Going once, going twice. Well, as of 3 weeks ago, I made a promise to the gentleman that is running the show over there, and I dropped the ball. As of 3 weeks ago, this was the total. 7.6 with a B, billion people on planet Earth. 7.6 billion people. Crazy, isn't it? How many of those people are exactly the same? How many? You got any twins in here? Any identical twins? Anybody? Are identical twins exactly the same? No. Why? Their fingerprints are different on a DNA level, a molecular level. Kind of like that math teacher, it starts to get beyond my understanding. Calculus. So no two people on planet Earth are the same. None. So whether you think about it from a religious perspective, a spiritual perspective, or a Darwin perspective, we are one of a kind, unique creation. I see my friend Steve Mastelier, a.k.a. the Deuce, sitting over at the table over there. I haven't seen him in a long time. Good to see you. I hope it's okay that I outed you as the Deuce. Ask him the story about the Deuce. It involves $2 bills and a banker. It's a great story. If we break Steve today into a million pieces, we're not going to the warehouse to find the other Steve and get him into production so we don't get in trouble with his family and friends. Steve is one of a kind. Just like you're one of a kind, Dana, right? We're one of a kind. And I would argue that that means something. That means something. That means that each one of us have a unique and special gift to give to the world. I've spent the last 35 years with young people, with CEOs, and everything in between, trying to compel and convince them that maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe there is something special about you, and maybe if we took 5 minutes to explore what it is, you'd want to give more of it. I told you earlier that I was a wildlife management major when I went away to college. And how many of you have heard of a gentleman called Edward Lorenz? Anybody? Oh my goodness, 3, 4 people? Fantastic. I learned about Edward Lorenz in a class called Wildlife Diseases and Bioethics. Very exciting class. The hairless moose on Isle Royal, the overrunning of Australia with rabbits and mice, and all sorts of other great maladies that is not good at a lunchtime presentation, so I'll keep it to myself. In 1962, a meteorologist whose only motivation, and teacher, whose only motivation was trying to figure out how do we get better at early warning systems for weather. Because if we can figure that out, we can save more lives. So he went before the New York Academy of Science, some of the smartest minds in the world at the time, and he posited something called the butterfly effect. And his theory was that when a butterfly flaps its wings, it moves air molecules, which move other air molecules, which move other air molecules, which eventually create a tornado in Texas or a typhoon in Taiwan. All right. You can imagine the looks he got from some of his fellow scientists who fundamentally laughed him out of the room as a lunatic. And we didn't hear a whole lot about the butterfly effect for almost 30 years, until physicists, independently working around the globe, proved that Edward Lorenz was actually accurate, that it's true. Most of you are familiar with this if you've seen Jurassic Park and Jeff Goldblum's character, and he puts the drop of water on his hand and says, which way is it going to go, right? He's trying to hit on that girl, that pretty girl. And it was the birth of chaos theory. He is considered by many to be right up there with our man in Gravity, whose name just flew out of my head. Thank you, Newton. I don't know where that went, but I won't let it alarm me too much. So think about that for a minute. Edward Lorenz posited a theory 62 years ago-ish, waited 30 years for people to buy into it, and then there's an author by the name of Andy Andrews who wrote this amazing book. And it's my kind of book because it's mostly pictures, so I can get through it. Not a lot of big words. But he posits that your life matters. It's one of my favorite books. I give it away every chance I get to give to people. I strongly suggest you go and find it. And his posit is, he applies the butterfly effect to all of you, to me. And so I have a challenge for you, and this is kind of a challenge given the time and after lunch. I'm going to ask each of you, first of all, do you have a writing utensil at your table by chance? Anybody? Share if you don't have one. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And I know that's kind of dangerous, especially considering you just had lunch, but I can see you, so please don't go to sleep. I can even see you in the back there, so please don't go to sleep. So I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think about your life's journey and the people that have come through it. It could be people at Rotary, it could be in your family, it could be teachers, professors. I want you to think about the people that have come through your life. And very quickly, I want you to think of your top 10 people. The top 10 people that really rocked your world, changed your stars, changed the trajectory of your life. When you have at least 2 or 3 of those 10 in your head, I want you to raise your hand for me. When you've got some of those people in your head. All right, so I want you to pick number 1. And not number 1 in terms of the most important person, but the person, you put your hands down, thank you. The one person that really stands out to you. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes. On your table is a card that looks like this. And on the back of the card, I promised him I wasn't going to fall off the stage, and I just about did. Sorry about that. On the back of the card, I want you to take the next 2 minutes, and I want you to put the name of that person on the card, and I want you to write, what was it about them that rocked your world? How was it that they made a difference in your life? What was the impact that they had? Give them the gift of seeing something that most of us take for granted or don't even think about in terms of ourselves. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. How we doing? This is your 1-minute warning. It's the last chance for you to write anything ever again. Teasing. Well, as you're finishing up, you'll notice that there's a stack of those cards on your table. And there's a couple tables that are empty, so there's more, and I have more in the back. And I will give you as many as you want, as many as I have. You see, when I was in the RILA program, I remember telling the gentleman that got me hooked in it, which was a gentleman by the name of Spencer Bonney. He was the director of the program, the chair, the district chair at the time. He was going to move to Pueblo, Colorado, and I said to him, you know, I love the program. If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. And that was on a Thursday. And on Monday, I went to my club meeting and, just looking to connect with some people. And his father-in-law came up to me, Tom Freeze, some of you maybe know Tom, came up to me and he said, "Congratulations." And I said, "For what? Did I win something?" And he goes, "You're the new district chair of the RILA program." What? What do I know about running something? The district chair of the RILA program. Wow. So, I work with leaders every day in business, and, sometimes it's intimidating to sit with really important people, VPs of very important things, and CEOs of very important things, and I think I was more terrified at the prospect of running a program with a bunch of kids in it, because I'm old, I'm old enough to be most of their dads at the time. And I remember I got this inspiration, I worked with the super facilitators. For those of you that don't know District 6220's program, back then, we had something, you go as a participant, you can apply to come back the next year as a student facilitator working alongside of a Rotarian and a Camp Manitowoc staff member up in Boulder Junction where we hold the program. And then you can apply to come back another year and take your leadership journey to the next level as a super student facilitator. And so my job as a district chair was to work with them to help continue to develop the program, expand the program, grow the program, to live the mantra of try it, change it, try it again. And I had this activity. I had a campfire I had to do with them, and I'm like, what am I going to do with these guys? And I happen to have a whole bunch of colored slips of paper. I had green, I had blue, I had red, I have yellow. I have no idea why I had these slips of paper, but okay, I'm going to do something with it. So I challenged each one of them to write on the blue sheet of paper a dream that you have. Because blue to me, blue sky, blue ocean, blue mountains, dreams, right? I want you to write a dream that you have and make it big. Something you're going to do, a place you're going to go, something you're going to become, someone that you want to spend time with, whatever it is. And on the green sheet of paper, green to me is growth. I like being in the woods, right? I like being outside. So I think of green things and growing. I also think of it in terms of I'm a product of 1970s Saturday morning cartoons and the Super Friends. How many of you are out there? Anybody? Come on, don't leave me hanging. All right, excellent. Wonder Twins powers activate. I asked them on that green slip of paper, write down what you believe your gift is. What is your superpower? None of them had seen Super Friends, so I had to explain it. But what's your superpower, right? What is it that you believe is a gift that you have the opportunity to give to other people, and write it down. On the yellow slip of paper, I want you to write down yellow I grew up reading Western novels. My grandfather met a Western author by the name of Louis L'Amour, and so I grew up learning about how to treat women and right from wrong and all that good stuff reading Westerns. And the worst thing you could say back in the day is, "You are yellow." You better be ready to draw if you call somebody yellow, right? Because you're calling them a coward and calling them you're afraid of something. So I told them, I want you to write down something you're afraid of, and then set it aside for a minute. And then on a red slip of paper, red I associate with love. I asked one time a group of people, what do you associate with red? And they said, anger. That's not what I was looking for. Love, right? So I want you to think about someone that you love. I want you to think about somebody who's changed your life, profoundly impacted your life. And I want you to write on the back of that red slip of paper the gift they are to you. And then consider giving it to them. Y'all, I'm doing this, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know that this is going well. They look pretty serious, and this is supposed to be a campfire, and not sure where that's going to go. So we had this little ceremony. The yellow piece of paper was the fears that are going to keep them from realizing their dreams, sharing their gifts, and sharing the impact that someone had in their lives. And so I challenged them that they were ready. Let's throw it in the campfire. Because once it's in the campfire and it's burned to ash, we can't take that fear with us anymore. But only if you're ready. And then I challenged them, take your slips of paper, share them with whomever they are. The boundaries were, think of people, the red ones. I got tons of red pieces of paper here. They took more. Give them to somebody. Tell them what they meant to you. And then something unexpected happened, something I wasn't ready for. A young man comes up to me, and he gives me a red slip of paper. And I literally said, is there something wrong with that piece of paper? And he gave me the look that, like, really? And he said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be at this leadership program. And I'm like, Taylor, of course you'd be at this leadership program. You're an amazing leader. You've done amazing things at your school. You're off to college next year. You're going to do amazing things at college. I can't wait to see what you do with your life. If it wasn't, you would be here. Dude, you're not getting me. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be at this leadership conference. Okay, maybe not Ryla, but you'd be at some leadership conference because you're amazing. And he grabs me by the shoulders, and I can't tell you which thing was more horrifying, what he said or looking over his shoulders and seeing heads nodding. You're not getting me. I'm talking about on planet Earth. What? If it wasn't you, what? How can a 17-year-old child, how can a 14-year-old child, how can an 86-year-old person think, I don't have anything to give, I have no value, maybe the world would be better if I'm not here? I don't think I've been more shook up in all my life. And that day is the day that I decided, maybe re-upped, that to my last dying breath, I am going to help people to realize the one-of-a-kind, unique creation they are. Because we all matter. And if Mr. Lorenz was right, then we've got work to do. So I want to bring another friend, another video to make my point.
There's a lot that the kids need to know. A letter to a person on their first day here. Today, over 360,000 babies will be born, and you are one of them. Welcome, this is the world. It's a pretty cool place. There's lots to see, smell, there's corn dogs. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's just so much to do. Singing, dancing, and laughing. Laughing's the best. It's especially great when you laugh and milk comes out of your nose. But only if you just have milk. Otherwise, it's just gross. Some days gross things will happen. Some days awesome things will happen. Some days you'll get ice cream. Some days you won't. Some days your kite will fly high. Some days you get stuck in the tree. It's just how it is here. There's plenty of reasons to dance. You just gotta look for them. Don't worry though, you won't be doing this alone. You're gonna meet lots of people here. Some of them will be really nice and some won't be. It's not that they can't be, it's just, maybe they're just having a bad day. Being a person is hard sometimes. You should give people high fives just for getting out of bed. Oh, high fives, I forgot to explain that. How do I explain this? It's kind of, high fives are like hitting someone who is your friend. That's really bad. Just treat everybody like it's their birthday, even if they don't deserve it. Because we all mess up sometimes. The biggest mess up, not forgiving each other's mess ups. Maybe you'll be a teacher. Maybe you'll be president. Maybe you'll cure every disease ever. You might even see the Grand Canyon, swim in the ocean. Oh, this is so much. It's a lot. Try this, take a breath. Isn't that amazing? It's called breathing. You're gonna do it a lot, and nobody knows exactly how much. So enjoy it. Pay attention. Take brain pictures. Because amazing things will happen every day. You're gonna do so much. But it's not about what you do. It's about who you are. And you're awesome. You're made that way. You're made from love, to be loved, to spread love. And love is always louder, no matter what. Even if hate has a bullhorn, love is louder. So let your life be loud. Let's shout to the world. Things can be better. It's okay about all the mess ups. Corn dogs rule. Sorry, I'm just keep bringing that up. I don't think I told you this yet. We're really glad you're here. We don't say that enough to each other here because, well, life gets busy. You're gonna be important and you're gonna do a lot and you're gonna smell great, but don't get too busy. Remember to let everybody know you're glad they're here. You don't have to remember all this right now. You're gonna need a pep talk sometimes, and that's okay. For now, remember this. You're awake, you're awesome, live like it.
You're awake and you're awesome, live like it, right? This little man who is now 15 years old, when he was 9 years old, his brother-in-law, who is quite a bit older than he is, he's an adult, they used to goof around at family functions and videotape and make each other laugh. And one day they had a conversation and they wanted to make some videos and maybe put some stuff on the internet that's positive. And so Kid President was born. And this 9-year-old little Beeler Just to give you a little tiny bit more background, and you can look him up, his name is Robbie. He has something called osteogenesis imperfecta. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's brittle bone disease. By the time he was 9 years old, he'd already had 72 breaks and or surgeries. 72. If you look at some of his videos, and as a parent, it makes my heart skip a beat every time I see him. In one video, his right arm is in an orange cast. His right arm, I do know right and left. Right arm is in an orange cast. Left arm is in a green cast. He's got a leg in a body cast going around his waist. And yet, I have never seen that kid without a smile on his face. I've played that video hundreds of times in presentations to lots of different people. How many of you, when he said to breathe, breathed? Anybody? I do every time. Because it's a good reminder. Because in the world we live in and how important things are, we forget to breathe sometimes. We forget to take a step back and appreciate maybe we make a difference in the world. That card was for you to give to somebody to help them to appreciate the difference they make in the world. Help them to see what they cannot see in themselves. There's plenty of cards on that table. You'd make me happier than a clam if you got rid of all of them. There's lots of people in your life that have made a difference. But what really would make me happy is for some of you to get cards from some of the people that you're here with, for you to appreciate the difference that you make in their lives, because you make a profound difference in their lives. I want to leave you with one last story. I want to tell you the story about a young woman who was born many years ago, back in August of 1943. And she was born into very humble circumstances. She was the youngest of 5 kids. She went to high school, which was an accomplishment amongst her family. Her siblings were the first to do that. She went off to college, one of the first in her family to go to college. And during that time in college, she was all excited to major, and she was thinking about being a teacher in teaching English. But she met a guy, and she decided that that was going to be her major. Her major was going to be getting that guy through college. So she decided to drop out of school and work full-time to help fund his exit. And on his graduation day, he gave his diploma to her and said, "You have earned this diploma. Get hubby through school." She went on to volunteer in every community that she was ever in, at the hospitals that she was in, everything from Mobile Meals to Lifeline to a recent event that I just attended for the 10th year in a row. And I've been contributing to it through the business many years before that, raising money for the pediatric and oncology department at St. Vincent Hospital. She was a den leader. She was constantly coming up with ways to serve other people, and as you can see for some of those pictures, was not shy about doing whatever it took, dressing like a Wicked Witch of the West or a scary, creepy clown. It led to an opportunity for her to meet the President of the United States. One of the most horrifying, as she told it, one of the most horrifying experiences of her life, because she never wanted to be out in front of people. That wasn't the goal. The goal was serving other people. And so she was recognized for 36 years of volunteer service in the community that she lived in Green Bay. She was a very proud wife. She was definitely a very proud mother. She was the coolest grandma in town, to hear her grandchildren tell it. Who could bust a piñata like nobody's business. I don't know if you can see the fierceness on that face. It was kind of a creepy day. That lady was my best friend, my first confessor, and the best example of what serving other people are all about. We moved a lot when I was young, 14 times. And every community, she found a way to get involved. And this is one of my 2 favorite pictures with my mom, because we spent some of the best solve the problems of the world moments in the kitchen. And she would never be too busy to break away from dishes or something in the kitchen to play a few tunes and sing around the piano with me. And I got to give props to my pops, who's in the background there, who cannot carry a tune to save his life, but boy, he sure did try. So I had a different presentation in mind earlier in the week. And then I went to an event called Hats Off for Women that my mom and another woman started. And I listened to a Dr. Burnett, who is a oncologist in Green Bay. And Green Bay, for those of you that don't know it, is actually a regional leading center for cancer research. And he came to the stage and he said, my job is to try and inspire you to teach you, talking about cancer research. And so I'm going to do my best. And he goes, but one of the things I want to help you to appreciate is that we're not just doctors, we're people too. And he proceeded to lead us through the next 16 minutes of one of the most tear-jerking, inspirational moments of my existence as he honored his mother and his journey to becoming a doctor and a pediatric an oncologist because of the journey with his mother and the 6 times that she came out of remission to battle cancer again. And I was sitting there at a table of 10 of my closest friends, people that we invite every year because we got pinched for a table many years back by my mom to raise money, and we always said yes. And I thought about in 10 years' time, there's been 50 people that sat at that table, 50 different people. In the years before I was able to go, because I was working a lot, there was another 10, 20, 30, 40 people. My mom didn't want to be in front of people. She just wanted to do the right thing. One of my favorite moments of my existence was coming in the house at 7 years old and announcing to my mother, who's in the kitchen, that I'm going to change the world someday. And she said, really? Well, why don't you sit down and tell me about it? And she manifest fresh chocolate chip cookies and a glass of milk and said, tell me about it. Why do you want to do that? Well, my 7-year-old version, it was, because there's a lot of mean people in the world, Mom. There's a lot of crabby people in the world, and people should be happy, and people should smile more. And I want people to realize that they matter. They make a difference. She said, well, how are you going to do that? And I said, I have no idea. Grabbed a mitt full of cookies and ran out the door. And I've been trying to figure that out for 52 years. How do I make a difference in the world? Tina asked me to do this, and then she told me that it was going to be important because it was going to be the first one of the weekend to set the tone. Okay, no pressure. And I had 3 years to think about it. And 3 years, that's a long time away. and I had a lot of time to think about it. And then a week ago came, and suddenly I'm thinking about it, and I'm panicking about it. Because I stand in front of you. Sometimes it's hard for me to own that I make a difference. Because you're taught not to, right? We're taught to be humble. We're taught to be shy. We're taught to, not toot our own horn. Man, as my friend Spencer Bonney once told the kids at Ryla, toot your horn. Honk, honk. Right? Not in this kind of way, but in terms of honoring the gifts that you have. Honoring the one-of-a-kind, unique creation way that you have the ability to touch another person's life. I've only met a couple of you in the last day or so, and you've already rocked my world with your stories. So take the time in between all the important sessions and all the important work that's going on in your districts, all the important work that's going on in Rotary, and remember the most important thing. Rotary wouldn't exist without all of you. Rotary wouldn't be as effective in each community without all of you. Each and every one of you. Rotary wouldn't exist unless you can realize that you are a one-of-a-kind, unique creation. And I'd love nothing better than to send all you out of this room as butterflies that are going to go and infect other people in your clubs, in your community. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk about my mom. I got to participate in something called the Joseph Project this week, which is about getting people off of welfare and off of being homeless and back to work. And it was single-handedly one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had to sit with 2 men that are trying to get a job, to get back to work, to take care of their families. One of the gentlemen is homeless currently. And I have never seen a brighter spirit, a brighter light in all my life. And so those of you that are prayerful people, I ask you to keep a guy by the name of Jason and a gentleman by the name of Corey in your mind. Send them positive thoughts, prayers, whatever you do. But keep them and hold them close. And each one of you knows somebody like that. My friends, it's been an honor to spend time with you. Tina, I hope you're somewhere in here. I hope I didn't disappoint you. But I want you to know it's been an honor. It's been an honor to be in the room with people that serve other people, that put other people first. Don't forget to look in the mirror and realize that you couldn't do it, if Rotary couldn't do it without all of you. You want to freak people out on Monday when you get, or whatever day is your club meeting? Go hug somebody you never hugged before. And when they say, why'd you do that? Tell them you met some crazy guy at a Rotary conference and he made you do it, right? So it's been an honor. It's been a great blessing. I hope to run into some of you throughout the weekend. Thank you for listening and being gracious. Appreciate it.